Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the impossible position that Boris Johnson put himself and the Conservatives in when he negotiated the Northern Ireland Protocol, and how some in the EU are already drawing up plans for reacting as soon as the bill is passed. This issue is bound to overshadow the conversation as different Tory MPs fight for Johnson's job. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So yeah, we're going to discuss some news, or I am. Some news, actual news, that's got nothing to do with Boris Johnson falling to his political death and the vultures picking at his bones, trying to find his crown so they can put it on his head. I will be talking about that this afternoon, though. So basically, Boris Johnson ran out of room when it came to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Actually, as I say, as Boris Johnson's personally run out of time, that's it, he's done. He is done. He's done. I could even say that the Conservative Party's running out of room, because whoever takes over, don't imagine there's going to be an about turn on the Northern Ireland Protocol bill. Right now, the situation with this is quite simple. Boris Johnson agreed a deal with the EU that would allow for an orderly exit from the EU, which is what his wider party wanted. But whenever he would answer questions about the deal, he would deny lots of the provisions in it. The most famous lie was that there would be no trade border in the Irish Sea as a result of this agreement. No paperwork or checks would be required for trade between Britain and Northern Ireland. Anyone who read the agreement could see that this was plainly not the case, so there was always going to be a reckoning. In theory, the government wants the following changes to the protocol. So first, it wants to set up a trusted trader scheme to drop checks for certain deliveries. This would be for things like consignments going from Britain to Northern Irish supermarkets, where the risk of it passing into the single market would be extremely low, basically zero. The thing is, the EU are not opposed to this. In fact, they agreed to it before we left. But to be confident that these products would not enter the single market, there needed to be a few things put in place. It included a system to share data on the movement of these goods in real time, so that people could be satisfied. Oh yeah, it's all going to these supermarkets. Oh yeah, it's fine. The government agreed to that, but they didn't implement it. It was also supposed to include packaging that would have things like for sale in Northern Ireland only, for example. Again, unless someone can tell me different, I'm fairly sure that wasn't implemented either. So this system not being set up is actually down to the UK government refusing to stick to its end of the bargain, not the EU being difficult. If the UK government want this system in place, why aren't they implementing it in line with the agreement? My guess is they're not actually bothered about dealing with the issues with the protocol. It's purely political. The ERG want the protocol dropped. They don't care about potential trade wars with the EU because they wanted a no-deal Brexit in the first place. They never wanted the withdrawal agreement. And many don't even seem to care about the trade and cooperation agreement. Over the past few months, the ERG have been exerting careful pressure on Boris Johnson. He's going now, but they will still be mobilising to ensure that controls remains in place. If they don't get their own candidate in place, Suella Braverman, and I really can't see it, then realistically they will make sure that they bring that pressure to bear on whoever does replace Johnson. They have their prize in mind. The bill is going through Parliament. It's passed the first two stages of the House of Commons. You know, they will expect any successor to keep with the plan. Remember that Brexit only happened because the ERG held the rest of the party hostage, threatening to burn the whole thing down. Well, those threats haven't gone away. You know, because trusted trader scheme aside, the rest of the government's demands can be put into one of two categories. The first would be abolishing EU law in Northern Ireland for things like VAT, state aid and so on. But this is illegal as well as a political nonsense. The single market works on the basis of EU law. Northern Ireland wants to retain access to the single market for goods, so it has to follow the rules of that market. It's really simple enough. The second category is coming up with toothless systems to make it all sound fine to ignorant observers. This includes bringing in tough penalties for people trying to smuggle goods from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland. Okay, fine. But how are you going to catch them if nobody's looking at the goods passing from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland? So the demands are a complete nonsense, and that is by design as well. It's there by design so the EU can say, no, we're not going to go along with that. And then they get together, well, you're just being difficult. We've come up with these solutions. What's wrong with you? You know, there cannot be an agreement on the protocol while anyone listening to the ERG is Prime Minister. And I'm seeing more regular reports that people in the EU were seeing that agreement was impossible with Boris Johnson in place. Let's see how quickly they realise how impossible it will be unless the replacement is somehow someone with the backbone to stand up to the nutters. And do you know what? If they do that, they'll just split the Conservative Party. So there's no chance really while the Tories are in power. The Northern Ireland Protocol is a major threat to them. You know, not for the same reason the DUP dislike it. You know, the ERG don't care about Northern Ireland in any way, shape or form. The protocol represents a link with the EU and also a part of the UK where the economic performance is outstripping that of anywhere in Britain. Over time, that's going to be a major problem for arguing that Brexit's working out. At the moment, they're just about getting by saying, oh, it'll take time. Well, after a certain amount of time has passed, people are going to be going, so what's going on then? At some point, people are going to have to face up to the fact that Northern Ireland, which usually lags behind several parts of Britain in terms of economic growth, is even outstripping London since Brexit. The ERG need Northern Ireland to suffer along with the rest of the UK to hide the benefits of access to the single market before more people start paying attention. Now, there are some people who think that, or did think, and still do, that once Johnson fell, the whole Brexit house of cards will fall too. No, I don't know about that. I don't think so. I can believe that it's possible that maybe a stronger leader with the support of moderate MPs and who can take a bit of a stand against the ERG has a lot of scope for reversing some things, certainly in terms of breaking treaties. But this is not very likely to happen because the ERG will split the party. It's not just a threat with no substance behind it. They're not Conservatives. They don't care about the Conservative Party. They joined the Conservative Party specifically to get this done. They don't share their political values or their aims. But there are contenders who will find themselves in exactly the same position as Boris Johnson had. Liz Truss, for example, is courting the ERG for some support. If she wins, she will be dependent upon their support just as Johnson is now. The moderates aren't likely to back her. And that's, you know, and this matters because it does depend. Whoever wins the leadership contest, were they backed by the moderates, in which case they may have a little bit more leeway, or were they not, in which case they are entirely dependent on ERG support. Germany and Ireland, week before last, released a joint statement condemning the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, which is passing through Parliament right now. This is to make it clear that Johnson is not just threatening Ireland, but that the wider EU will back their member. In fact, Germany, with the new government, has been quite robust about this. We've heard from multiple sources the EU are mightily pissed off about this. It is threatening unity against Russia at this crucial time. It's threatening trade when there are enough pressures on this already. It's threatening the rule of law. It's also against the wishes of the clear majority of MLAs in the Northern Ireland Assembly, as well as the people and businesses of Northern Ireland. And legal and moral issues aside, the EU are in a politically strong position here. They know the UK can't afford a trade war. We are dependent upon imports of food and medicine from Europe. Think back to last Christmas. Why were people able to get their Christmas food after all? When British production was declining, we had shortage on the shelves leading up to Christmas. Why? Because we imported a massive amount of extra food from the EU. Well, it's going to cost us even more this year because the pound was falling against the euro and the dollar. Went up a little bit when Boris Johnson resigned, and he did resign. If we start a trade war, it's going to cost us even more, plus we'll struggle to get as much at any price. What do people think that's going to do to inflation? As for growth, forget it. Our exports will decline even further due to extra difficulties at our trade boards with the EU. Imagine the EU countries bordering Britain decide to check every single consignment that passes across that border. Every single one, no matter how long it takes. Our exports would grind to a halt. It'd be basically like banning all British exports. That's what it would be like. And the EU won't be breaking any laws in doing this. It's entirely up to them. to decide their own risk management when it comes to accepting goods across their border. But of course, I'm just speculating in terms of what the EU could do. I don't know. Right now, they're discussing it. It may well be that some members want to take a tougher line than others, but all of them are pissed off. What I see reported is that some member states are talking about what to do to act as soon as the bill is passed into law, which is interesting because I was thinking to myself, because the bill itself doesn't dismantle the protocol, it just allows ministers to do it, maybe the EU would wait until a minister acted. But it sounds like some members, and Germany is one of them, are wanting to make sure that as soon as this bill passes into law, the act is then. They do it before ministers actually use it. You know, and I don't know what the general consensus is going to be. There's still time before this bill does become law. You know, it's not even cleared the Commons yet. It will. There's no suggestion it will definitely clear the Lords. I mean, the Lords should block it, but they may not. It may get rammed through, but I don't know when this bill will become law. Probably not this year. It may be that the bill was only ever something to let Boris Johnson keep stringing the ERG along with no intention of ever using it. But what will it represent to his successor? That is now the big question. You know, if they drop the bill, that would be a massive change in Brexit policy and the pressure to reverse Brexit would ramp up. But I don't see that happening. If they keep on with it, they'll have the same problems to deal with that Johnson was storing up, in that it's not a credible policy. It's not feasible. There's no long-term mileage in it. It can't work. If you do this, trade war with the EU, can't afford it, humiliating climb down. Usually when it comes to a trade war in any sort of diplomatic process, you try and find a face-saving way out for both people. How are you going to have a face-saving way out? Because if we wreck the protocol and then instigate a trade war with the EU, how do we end up stopping that trade war with the EU without putting the protocol back in place? We can't. So there's no face-saving way out. But some EU members at least can't be asked even having it hanging over their heads. They want to act as soon as the bill is passed, like I say. Now, whether that means they'll persuade others to have a plan in place to do so straight away, I don't know. Like I said, there's time for this. There's plenty of time for them to discuss it. The bill's not expected to complete its passage quickly. And there is still the question of how the House of Lords reacts to it. Absolutely justified in blocking it. It may even be that whoever is Prime Minister at the time wants them to block it. Because always remember, neither Boris Johnson nor Liz Truss nor any of the other candidates, maybe Suella Braverman, want to run a trade war against the EU. And I doubt the other realistic contenders do either. You know, there's nothing. They've got nothing against the protocol personally. None of these people have. It's all just selfish politics. They just need to convince their ERG hostage takers that they're doing as well as any credible replacement in satisfying their wishes. You know, they would welcome opposition to these schemes because it delays the consequences for them. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.